Okay, so today we're doing an Evolution of Boba Fett showcase, so let's check it out. So I decided to do another showcase because I have a lot of Boba Fett figures, and I decided to show them all, which, two of these or actually I don't have in my collection. Two of these were my daddy's that I borrowed because, unfortunately, I don't have the vintage one in my collection, so which, thankfully my daddy still had his when he was a kid, so I was able to borrow it and to do this video. So I guess we'll go from smallest to biggest and show you through the years of how Boba Fett action figures have changed. So let's get started. Okay, it may have looked a little dark a minute ago. I forgot to turn my camera light on, but so let's start with the two Lego ones I got here first. Now, the standard looking Boba Fett came out of the Sarlacc pit set, I believe. And that, white prototype armor Boba Fett came out of one of them Lego books, I think. I can't remember which book it came out of, but I've still got the book somewhere, but like I said, I can't remember which one it was in exactly. But they made, unfortunately, I don't have the earliest versions of the Lego Boba Fett, but, because they made an earlier version of the white Boba Fett, of the older style, where the helmet and the jetpack were all one piece. Unfortunately, I don't have either of those, but I do have both of these newer style ones, which I really do like both of these. So, so we turn this off for a minute. So the standard Boba Fett, has little helmet, kind of like a Tamora Morrison head, I guess. This is based off the Return of the Jedi version. Too, Legos have 5 points of articulation, just like older Star Wars figures, which is actually kind of neat. This version has this head under here, which I'm not sure what this head's supposed to be, but which both of these had an antenna. Unfortunately, I misplaced both the antennas because they kind of fall off easy, but still pretty cool. Going forward, we have this version right here, which this is a Burger King toy from 2005. Now, I did not actually get this at Burger King. I actually got this at a flea market a couple of years ago. I found it for like $1 or something. I can't remember. It was pretty cheap, but this figure is not very articulated. He can only move the arms. He's got an action feature where you fill him up with water and his wrist, gauntlet sprays water out of it. So that's what this little flapper he would do. You'd fill that up full of water, and then the wrist gauntlet would mash this button and it would just spray water out, which I'm not gonna do on camera because I don't want to make a mess on our review stations. But still pretty cool. Not a whole lot of paint details on these. A lot of fast food toys ain't very detailed, but still pretty cool for what it is. Okay, so now for the vintage version here, or versions I should say. Now this painted version right here, unfortunately I don't actually have this figure in my collection yet, but thankfully, like I said, my daddy still had his from when he was a kid, so I was able to, thanks to him, I was able to complete this video, in which he actually took very good care of his Boba Fett. As you can see, it's very, the paint's not scratched up at all. A lot of times you find these and they're all scratched up, which he took very good care of this. There's also that unpainted prototype one over there that shoots the rocket. I'm not going to shoot that rocket on camera because that thing will go flying somewhere and I won't find it. But they quit making them that way because it was a choking hazard, to children. Because one of the Battlestar Galactica figures had a shooting missile like that, and a kid got choked on it. So they decided not to. They glued the missile in on the Boba Fett, which is kind of a shame. But I understand, safety reasons and stuff. I mean, you can't have kids getting choked on stuff like that. That's really bad. But still really cool. The Boba Fett here, as you can see, paint, like I said, this figure is just in spectacular shape. I mean, like I said, a lot of times you find these, they're all scratched up, and and this one is just amazing. As you can see, he's got his blaster. This is a standard Stormtrooper blaster. They reuse these a lot in the vintage line. He's got the standard 5 points of articulation, and you got the swell of the head, both arms and both legs. So very standard articulation, but still really awesome figure. And was that prototype one there has the same articulation. It's kind of hard to get this to stand with this is spinning. There we go. But so that's the two vintage versions here. Power of the Force 2 line versions. Now both of these are based off each individual film Boba Fett originally appeared in. He did not originally appear in A New Hope. That was after like added film and stuff like that. But these were the two original versions. You have the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Which, the only difference between these are the same figure. The only difference is the Empire Strikes Back one has green gauntlets there, as you can see, in a green jetpack, while the Return of the Jedi has red gauntlets and the more color like jetpack. But both these figures, have the standard 5 points of articulation like the vintage figure does, and which you can see these are toned down from those early Power of the Force 2-line figures where they were overly muscular. So these look a little more proportionally right, and you can see he's a little beefier than Boba Fett, but like I said, it's not as extreme as the early versions. So now we're going to, technically, I guess you could call it the vintage collection, but this loose figure here is actually not the vintage collection. When it wouldn't actually release in that line, this is actually the Boba Fett that came out of that Fett Legacy 3-pack. They came with Jango Fett and Mandalore. And as you can see, it's basically the same figure as that vintage collection right here. That's why I never opened this, because you can see it's basically the same figure, just this one's got a slightly different green color to his armor. As you can see, they both do have a removable helmet. And by remove, they have like a Jango Fett clone face on there. It's got some scratches. But, I always just playing with the helmet on because, he always had his helmet on in the original trilogy. So, well, I don't know why you wouldn't want to have him with his helmet on anyway. But, I also got the mailway version. Let me move my thing out the way right here so I can show you this a little better. So, I also got the mailway rocket firing Boba Fett that was, I think, in 2010 when you sent off proof of purchases and you got one of these in the mail. I remember doing that back in the day. It was really fun. But they used to do that in the vintage line all the time with that. That's what they've done that with the original Boba Fett. So it's kind of like an homage. As you see, compared to the vintage Boba Fett here, it's actually a little bit taller. As you can see, I mean, it's like they try to scale it more to with the vintage collection than they did the vintage toys. So we put this one up to it. They're about the same height. So it's like they try to make it the same height as the other two. But that's basically the older style vintage collection version. So now moving on to 6-inch Black Series. Now they did make 2 other Boba Fett's in the 6-inch Black Series in this form. I don't actually have. There's the standard version from Empire Strikes Back, and then there is before this version there was a all white prototype version. There was a Walgreens exclusive. Unfortunately, I don't have that one either, but I do have this newer version that was based off the Return of the Jedi version, and unfortunately the missile and the jetpack there is that the missile was cracked, so that's why I don't like to have it in there. I don't want the peg to snap off, so I don't display it in there. But so this figure is a different mold than the earlier ones, but as you can see, you got like a blank Tamor Morrison helmet there. I wish they would just made this movable helmet. That'd been cool, but I kind of understand because he had his helmet on in the movie, so that's why they didn't opt to do that. But it would have been cool if they did. But these armor pieces were reused for Cobb Vanth, which I have reviewed, and which I think I did show this figure in that review. And he's got pretty good articulation. He's got a ball joint at the head and the neck there, so that's actually pretty good. If you turn this neck around, you can get him looking up or down better. He's got a hinge and a swivel there at the shoulders, kind of hindered by his armor there. Got a double hinge at the elbow, a hinge and a swivel at the wrist and the gauntlet. Got some pretty good ab articulation, kind of hindered by his armor. He's got good thigh articulation, double joints at the knee, and a hinge and a swivel at the ankle. So pretty good articulation. A lot of newer vintage collection figures have this style articulation too. So unfortunately, I don't have any of the newer style ones to show you that. But so pretty good figure. I really love this figure. It's one of the best Boba Fett figures in my opinion that I have. His antenna also goes down on his helmet too. I forgot to mention that. A lot of older figures didn't have that either. So that's the 6-inch Black Series. Okay, so this was not a standard Boba Fett, but it is still a Boba Fett. So I show this one because I like this figure really good too. This is the Book of Boba Fett, even though this is actually more based the way he appeared on Tython in The Mandalorian than or not Tython, I mean the episode of The Mandalorian after he repainted his armor instead of the Book of Boba Fett version. That version was a little bit different, but so this is more based off the way he appeared in The Mandalorian, but still pretty cool. It's after he got his armor back and he repainted it and cleaned it up and everything. So really good figure. I did review this figure, so if you want to go watch that, you can. He's got a removable helmet. Pretty decent Tamor Morrison likeness. It's got some scratches and scars and stuff. Helmet's kind of loose on his head. That's the only thing I don't like about this. He does have the antenna. He has the same articulation as the other one, so I won't go through that. But he's got some really chunky legs, though, so that kind of hinders it a little bit. He does have a swivel right there that the other one doesn't have, I believe. Yeah, the other one does actually have that. I missed that a minute ago. But so same articulation the other. So pretty awesome figure. It's one of my favorites I have in my collection. A little bit of balance issues, but still pretty cool. So the next two figures I'm not going to be able to put on my turntable because they're tall and I can't get them all in the camera. But so this is the 12-inch Boba Fett figure from 1979. Unfortunately, it is incomplete. I don't have all the accessories. Complete versions are very expensive, so that's one reason I don't have a complete one. But this one's actually in pretty good shape for what it is, though. The hands are a little bit messed up. I think they've been glued back on at some point, but this one is kind of colored off the vintage toy a little bit too. Um, as you can see here, they kind of reused the color except for the helmet. The helmet's actually more colored like the movie. But it's got the movable antenna like the vintage one. It's actually got the eye hole you can look through, much like the Steve Austin Bionic Man figure, which I do actually have sitting over here. But let me get that and show you. Okay. So as you can see, it's got the same kind of eye as the Steve Austin Bionic Man, because both these figures were made by Kenner, so they kind of reused some features from those. But you can see the hole's actually on the opposite side of each other. So this figure will be a video for another day, so we'll look at it later. But so getting back to the Boba Fett here, he's got the jetpack, which is removable, and unfortunately, one of the things that broke off mine. I have the piece, but it's tore, so that's why it's not on there. But you can see the jetpack just clips in like so. Pretty good. Now these 12-inch figures had better articulation than the vintage ones. The 3/4 inch ones. They have a swivel at the head, a hinge, a swivel at the shoulder, hinge at the elbow. I think they did have wrist articulation, but this one's kind of broke, so that's why I'm not going to try to turn it. Got a single hinge there at the leg and a bend at the knee. So these actually had pretty good articulation. Now the head for this figure was actually reused in a concept art figure for He-Man. Back when they were developing He-Man, they made 3 different versions: a barbarian, a military style one, and a space style one. And they reused this Boba Fett head and made a helmet for that prototype He-Man. I'll show you a picture, which is actually really cool. So this is this 12-inch figure. I really like this figure. Like I said, it's incomplete and it's got some little bit of loose joints, but it's still a pretty cool figure. Okay, so last but not least, we have this big Jakks Pacific's Boba Fett. I debated on showing this figure because it's big and it's hard to show up the camera, but I decided to show it anyway. There's other few Boba Fett things that I have, but I omitted because they're not really action figures; they're more like statue pieces and stuff. So I omitted those. But I decided to not omit this figure because it's still an action figure, and which these big ones are made by a company called Jakks Pacific, which they've made Dragon Ball Z stuff and all kinds of things back in the past. They've been making these big 18-inch Star Wars figures for a very long time, and I don't have very many of these because they're big and they're clunky and they take a lot of space up. But I did buy Boba Fett one. I'm a big Boba Fett fan, so that's why I bought this one. So as you can see, he's got the cape on the back. He's got the jetpack on the back, which is removable, but hard to get back off, so I'm not going to take it back off. But as you can see, the paint job on this figure is decent. I have to hold sideways because it's massive. The helmet is paid decently with all the scratches and scuffs and stuff like he has, and it's shaped decently too. And as you see, the armor's painted decently. Now this figure has the standard 5 points of articulation, like vintage Star Wars figures. This antenna does not move, but he's got a swivel at the head, a swivel at the arm, a swivel at the wrist there, and a swivel at the leg. So as you can see, there's spider webs on this because it's been displayed over there on the floor for a while. But I don't think he has any. No, you don't have any ankle articulation. So this is a very big, clunky figure. And one reason he gets displayed on the floor with the other Darth Maul I have is because I can't put these on my shelf because they take up a lot of space. And so but still, if you like these, they're pretty good for what they are. And like I said, I don't buy a whole lot of these because they're, like I said, they're big and they're clunky. But Because I bought the Boba Fett because I really like Boba Fett. There was a exclusive version that had like tribal marks on his armor plate, which was kind of like a concept art figure. I think it was like a Comic Con exclusive or something. But this is the standard version. So that is all the Boba Fett figures that I have, and unfortunately, there is a lot of other versions that I couldn't show in this video because I don't have them, like some of the newer Vintage Collection ones, like the Book of Boba Fett Vintage Collection figure. I'd really like to get my hands on that figure. I just haven't got one yet, and like I said, this is just general showing of all the Boba Fett figures I had. Like I said, I omitted some other ones I have that are kind of just like statues and things like that. They're not really figures, but uh, so this is the general Boba Fett action figures that I have, and in the evolution of how they've changed. And they've changed a whole lot over the years from the standard 5 points to having a lot more articulation nowadays, and more detailed. And but I still have a soft spot for the vintage figures. That's I grew up playing with those, and they're just for fun toys. So if you like this video and want to see some more, you know, collect, more evolution videos, give me a thumbs up. That help me a lot, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Till next time.